Welcome to Art with Mr. O. Today we're going to talk about fractals. You might detect a similar root word there, like for fracture or fraction, meaning part of. And a fractal is kind of like a division of a shape that's repeated. We use them in computer programs. They're used in engineering a lot. And we can use them to make designs in art. Nature uses them a lot. As a matter of fact, if you look at an elm tree, you'll see a split about like my fingers right there. And then on the end of each of those, and we'll get to one of those later on, is a similar split. And if you look at some trees, any little section of the tree you look at looks like a miniature version of the whole tree itself. And that's kind of part of something that's kind of interesting about fractals. So we're going to show you a basic design you can do, and you can color these in when you're done, or it's just kind of fun to experiment a little bit. So I just got a regular piece of paper, and I'm going to start by just taking a permanent marker, and I'm just going to divide it into about like 1/3. So I'm just going to draw a line across a third. You can use a straight edge if you want. Now I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to look at this square, and I'm going to mark off a line that represents about 1/3. And I turn it, and I look at this rectangle, and I go 1/3 to the edge there. And so you just kind of keep repeating this. There's 1/3. Fractals quite often take on a bit of a spiral shape. There's 1/3. Now this shape, and you just keep going to that central shape and rotating it. And like I said, you could go in and color this in when you get done. And I'm just marking off the bottom third. Obviously, it keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. There are mathematical equations that do basically the same thing as what we're doing right here with numbers. And eventually it will get to where your marker is making a line that's pretty much. And we'll go with that. So that's one type of fractal there, and so that kind of makes a neat design. And you could go in with markers or colored pencils and color that in. If we do a line without a straight edge, or we deliberately try not to do specifically straight lines, sometimes that's called an organic line. And let's do. Here's a possibility with something that would be considered maybe organic. So let's do. One circle, and then on each circle we put 2 half circles, and then on each half circle we put 2 more half circles. And you can see they don't have to be perfect, and then we go 2 more half circles. You can see fractals just kind of continually divide into smaller parts. In this case, each time we're doing twice as many circles. Oops, I missed one there. That's okay. Okay to mess up. We're just experimenting. I know I did it again. And again. And it's a great example, because what do we say about practicing? Practice makes everyone better. So I haven't practiced this a lot. So once you get down to where you're making very small shapes, in this case that's about as small as I want to go, you have the option. And some of them I've messed up there, so I'm just kind of making them fit. So I've got a pretty consistent row of the smaller shapes. And now you can kind of reverse it. So now, instead of, now I'm going to skip a shape, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to make a half circle that kind of leapfrogs to the next half circle. Hopefully you can see kind of what I'm doing here. Sometimes I just goofed up there a little bit, but sometimes it's hard to talk and draw because it uses different parts of your brain. So now it's getting bigger, and so now I'm going to do the same thing again, and it gets bigger quite quickly. And I'm trying to leap over one, so I'm actually making bigger and bigger loops. And see now, and all of a sudden I'm already up to this size, and I've kind of got, I'm just going to go right off the page now, pretend that there's more over there. So now, and now I'm almost up to the size of the original one. And so what I could do then is start to go back down smaller, and it could be a pattern in waves. So there's all kinds of things you can do. We'll show you one that's been colored here. There's my scrap sheet so my markers don't get all over the... So let's talk about that tree fractal we were talking about with the elm tree. And this is one that's kind of interesting to do. So you can just take and you make the trunk of the tree, and then you make it split into a Y. So there's a Y shaped. Now every limb will split into another Y like that. So now I go and I split this one, and I put the center of the Y, or V, I suppose, if you want to call it a V, however you want to do it. Each branch forks, and then I just continue on. Now there's something interesting is going to happen here in a moment as I get smaller. There we go, smaller and smaller, and more Y's or V's. I start to come to situations like this. So now I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go and make that V or Y go in front of this one. Now I got to think about what would this one do. This one would come back and split off like that, and then over here. So it goes behind that one. It's like the sun's coming out here. And here's another case where this one, we'll put this one right in front of that. This one. Now this one goes up here like that, goes behind. We'll make it sticking out back here. This one goes out back there. So you can see that one splits off. This one splits off, goes right off the page. Okay, and so I just continue on with and I don't always put the same ones in front. It kind of makes them intertwine. See these right here. Now this one can go behind that one, and this way too. And sometimes they end up going into the same, almost the same branch. This one splits. So you see, and so these all start splitting. It becomes quite an intricate pattern. It's kind of fun to just kind of follow it and see where it goes. Now, so you can see you can keep going right off the page. And once you have these done, now this is not done, I would just take this off the page, and sometimes they curl clear down around here. So here's an example of one that's done that I've colored in. I just colored it in with a green marker. This is the same design, and it's been all colored in. So you can see that some of the branches, they stop behind some other ones, and that's okay. And some of them, it looks like even even joined together, which is okay as well. But you can see it's all based on this idea that one branch comes and branches into 2, and then branches into 4, and then branches into 8, and so forth. And so the more you do this, the more of these patterns that you'll notice in nature. You'll notice them if you're a student and you have math classes. You may notice some of the terminology that you've heard here in math class, and you'll start seeing them in a lot more places. You'll see them in snowflakes if you look closely at a snowflake. And so they are in nature, but they're also kind of a fun little project to do and kind of relieve some stress, and it's kind of nice to get down and do something like that. And I actually might hang that one on my wall. That looks kind of cool. So remember, practice makes you better, and have fun with your art.